Agreed.
All right, so I know last time what I did was the states here. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and do the input. 'Cause I'm just going all over the place here. So we're going to do edit, project settings. Bring this guy over. That went to this side. All right, and okay, so right now we have vertical left and vertical right, um, and we also have horizontal left, horizontal right. But those are both set up the for basically the keyboard and not for our controller. So what I want to do is just set them up so that we have them for our controller as well. So we just have to duplicate all of these and then set up the corresponding controller one. So this makes a difference of whether you have an Xbox controller, which is what I'm going to be doing. If you don't have an Xbox controller, you have to look up to see, like, I know the PS4 works. Apparently the Switch doesn't work so well. But yeah, so you're gonna have to look them up, but I'm gonna set up Xbox is kind of generally what most people have, especially if you're on the PC. So what we're gonna do is on horizontal left, I'm just gonna right click over top of that one and duplicate array element. Where are you? Boink. I'm gonna go to the second one, and I just like to delete these, even though it doesn't actually matter. But we're gonna change this from keyboard to joystick, and then I believe it's the X-axis. I've got it over here as well, and it is indeed the X-axis. So that one's set up. So it's gonna be using the joystick and X-axis. You might need to adjust the sensitivity here. So like the dead zone, you might have to, if you notice your thing's drifting, you're gonna have to up your dead zone. So I'm gonna do 0.1 because 0.001 is pretty ambitious. You'd have to have a really nice controller that doesn't have any drift. So I'm gonna do 0.1. Obviously, the larger the number, the more the dead space. It just means that from center, how much from center going outwards does the controller not do anything? So anyway, I'm gonna do 0.1. But the larger you make this number, the more it's gonna have dead space. But it also makes it kind of crummier because it means it doesn't work. But anyway, so horizontal right, we're gonna go ahead and duplicate that array element, and I'm gonna open this one up, collapse this, and open this one up. And okay, so it's gonna be once again, it doesn't actually matter, but I just like to delete them just so that there's less confusion. Dead zone, once I'm gonna do 0.01 for this one just because I know with mine, but again, you have to adjust that. Again, we're gonna do joystick, and this time it's going to be the fourth axis. Okay, this will be different depending on what you have. Okay, for your controller. So now we're gonna do vertical left. So duplicate array element, open up vertical left. I'm gonna delete this, delete this. I think it was Y. Yeah, wait a minute, not that one. Sorry, hang on. Yeah, y-axis. So again, joystick, and here we go, and y-axis, and then we also need to make sure we invert, right? Yeah, because by default it goes backwards. So if you want your stuff inverted, you can do that, but probably you don't. So I'm gonna collapse that one. Now it's vertical right. Gonna right click, duplicate array, open this up, and one second, good. I'm gonna again delete these. It doesn't actually matter, but it helps because that way I know that it's working. And I think this one was the fifth axis. So boom, go here and fifth axis, and once again invert. And the last thing I want to do is this fire one. I'm going to duplicate this just so we have a trigger, so I can set up a trigger for shooting instead. So we'll duplicate that array element, open this up, and again, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this and delete that. And we're going to do is again joystick, and I think it's 10th axis for this one, and 10th axis. Yep. So not that one. Sorry. Yeah. 10th axis. Okay. So that should all be good. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to hit play. Just make sure that at least these first parts work. Um, so, and they are not. So that's good. Let me see. Does this work? This does work. Oh, because it needs a button. Hang on a second. Let me just double check something. So if you're on the joystick or if you're using a controller, when you go to use your axes, it won't do anything. You have to hit a button first. But yeah, now it's working. And when I aim, it shoots the other direction. And this is a lot better because there's just more nuance. I can more specifically aim, and that's great. But you might want to have it, and I had set it up already with the inputs. I might want that when I hold the right trigger, I want it to shoot, and I don't want it to shoot when I don't hit the right trigger. You could leave it this way too, just if you're pointing in a direction it shoots, but that might not be a feature you want. So we're just going to quickly set that up, and that's just going to go inside the player input. Let's close this out, and then I'm just going to go ahead and open up, where are you, player controller, and that's going to show up here. I'm going to put this guy over there, And okay, player input. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a bool that'll allow me to put this up higher. Make a bool that'll allow me to basically a switch to turn on whether we're going to use the trigger to shoot or not. So we'll just make it public bool, and we'll just say player controller, and I'll set it initially equal to false. Doesn't actually matter. I think by default it's false anyway, but it's always good to explicitly say that. And all we're going to do is down in here where we have if the right stick square magnitude, the gun triggered is pulled, else the gun trigger is false. So basically we have it that if we push the right thumbstick more than that 0.1 range, then it will it'll start shooting. Okay. But that's only gonna I'm only gonna set that up for if it's not a controller. So you notice that this says player controller, we end a bool. So I'm just gonna literally test that. So we're just gonna say if, and it'll be player controller. It's inherently a bool, so we don't have to do anything special with it. I'm gonna go like that. And then this will be the else. Like that. Oops. Like so. And I'm just gonna take this bit here and put this inside the else. Make sure these are tabbed in so it's nice and clean. Good. So if it's a player controller, if it's not the player controller, it's gonna do what it did before. But if it is, if that's turned on, we're going to have it instead. It's just going to be gun dot trigger pulled will be equal to input dot get axis raw, and it's going to be fire 1, and this is going to be a ternary or an inline if statement. So if it's greater than 0, because when you do these axes, right, there it's a number range. If we do x-axis raw, it's actually 0 and 1. It doesn't give the full range, but I still need to make it more than 0. It still gives you a float. So we're gonna say if it's greater than that, then you're gonna go ahead and say it's true. If it's not greater than that, then we're gonna say it is false. Okay. So we'll save that. I'm gonna go back in here, and we will play it. I'm gonna play it with just the settings that it currently is. Just to make sure it still functions correctly. So it's like this, and yep, still does the same thing. Great, that's fine. Now let's just go ahead and on the player here, we should have the right here. So player controller, I'm gonna turn that on, and now when I look in the direction, it shouldn't shoot unless I pull the trigger. So yep, see, it doesn't shoot, and then I pull the trigger, and it does. Whee, good. Okay, so now we've got that more or less working, and that's great. Okay, so we've now got the enemies. We got the shooting going. We got the player controller more accurate and working. So that's all good. What do I want to do next? All right. So I think we got the menu system all working. Just want to look to see what else was supposed to be in this. The bullets are firing. Do I have a health controller yet? We do not have health controller. Okay. So currently, if we get hit, we just die, I think. Right. So let me just double check. I think it's just, it'd be cool if we did a speed boost. We could do that too. That might be fun. Let's do that. Let's do that. That'd be cool. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go, it was not part of my things here, but we're going to do another trigger. Oh, but you know what? I don't know what the left trigger is. I'll add that later. Because I have to figure out what the trigger is for the left stick. I don't know. Well, we can figure it out. Let's look. Chrome. And we'll just do Xbox. Oops. Left trigger Unity. Let's see what that is. Okay, Xbox controller triggers for input. Okay. Third axis for both attacks. Use 10th axis. See, that's not the right axis though. Left box, left trigger axis. These are not helpful. Oh, let's do Unity. Let's see. Xbox pop-ups. I have no idea what goes out. Let's see. Is this got the answer? Nope, that's cool. Saying third axis. Let's try third axis. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do a Fire 2, and I'm gonna make it the joystick, and we'll do the third axis. See if this works. And all I'm gonna do for now is in the player input. I'll just do this on up. Actually, we'll do it on read inputs. We'll just say if we'll say if input dot get axis raw, and it's going to be Fire 2 is greater than 0. Then we're going to go ahead and just do debug dot log. I'm going to say left trigger with an exclamation point. We're really excited about it. Okay, let's save that. And I just want to make sure that this is working at all. So I'll keep an eye on my console here, because we could set up a speed boost, which I think would be kind of cool. And push a button, and it's not working. See, it's doing the right trigger, which is kind of weird, because I believe we set that to fourth axis. Edit project settings. Let me see. Or 10th axis. So I don't understand where third axis is coming from. That's not helpful at all. I was saying right trigger. Unity, Xbox controller button mapping. Let's see. Is this the one? There's one that gave me a picture. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Left click button. Left analog stick. Left trigger. 9th axis. 13th. Okay, let's try that one real quick. So switch this to the 9th axis. That makes more sense to me. And then we'll close that out. Let's see. Button. Okay. Yep, that works. Okay, sweet. Okay, so now we have left trigger. So I'm just gonna make it do the speed boost. We'll have to do a thing where we can like only do it for so long. But for now, I'm just gonna make that a thing. So let's go, not there. Here. Okay. So what we'll do is we will go to the movement motor. So it looks like this. Where's my move mode? I'm gonna go my movement motor, and we'll just have it's gotta be public, I guess. Public bool, and we'll say speed boost. Call it speed boost, and we'll make it false initially. Okay. All right. And what we'll do is on move, we'll just say that let me go here. I'm just going to copy this ternary to make this a little bit easier. I'll copy that here, and we'll go to right here. We're going to paste it, and all we're going to do is say that move is that the best way to do it? Let me see. How do I want to write this? Yeah, move speed will be equal to, and it'll be get axis raw, so 2. So basically, if we are pulling the trigger, oh, actually, I can just take this all out together, because we're just going to do it based off of the other. I'd rather get the input here, so we'll say speed boost. So instead of the Fire 2 thing, we'll just do it here. Control V. So if speed boost is true, and if it's true, we're going to make move speed. else, oh, wait. We'll do another one of these. I'm gonna have a different speed for when it's going fast. Otherwise, we'll do move speed burst, we'll say. Okay, so we'll copy that. Oops, need the whole thing. Control C. And let me see, move speed. I'm going to do another one here. So we're going to copy this again. Okay. Nope, that was not the one I wanted. You. So I'm going to copy this again. And we're tab, Control V. So we're going to say that the default speed is 10, and then move speed will do 10. Okay, so this will be the default that it's always going to go back to. This will be the current speed that it's going, and then the move burst speed will be this one. So basically what I'm going to do is have move speed. Okay, so where are we? Okay, if we have speed boost on, I'm going to have move speed be the same as the move speed burst. Okay. But if it's not on, then it's going to be default speed. So basically, if we're pulling the trigger, move speed is going to be the ones. If we're holding the speed boost, the move speed is going to be equal to the move speed burst. Else, it's going to be equal to the default speed. So let's go like that. Let's go back here. Hopefully, there's no errors. All right, and I'm gonna go my player, and now I gotta adjust these things. So default speed will do 10. Move speed we don't have to change, but this one I do. This needs to be, let's say, 20. We'll make it super fast, just so we can see that it's working. Okay. Oh, forgot that. So, and if I do this, can't tell if it worked or not. Hang on. Actually, I should be able to tell by looking at the thing here. So let's see. And that did not go. All right. Not getting any errors. Oh, you know why? Because I didn't change the I didn't change this the speed boost. So I'm gonna copy that. And in the player input, we got if player, they do that. Okay. Oh, here we go. So instead of it saying this, I'm gonna have it do the movement motor thing. So I'm just gonna paste this here. Oops, don't need you. And what we're gonna do is do move motor, Control C, Control V. So move motor speed boost will be equal to true. And I'll get rid of this bit here. Okay. Okay. Else, the move motor dot speed boost will be equal to false. All right. So let's see if that works. Really need to put a timer or something on that, but we'll just see if it works. Oh yeah, so it works. So you can see, when I push the trigger, he goes a little bit faster. So I think what I'm gonna do is make it like a lot faster. So you only want to use it when it's like, but it'll also be a hindrance. And we'll just use that as my reason not to use it all the time. Oh, yeah. So it'll get us out of tricky situations, but it'll also be absolutely horrendous to work with. All right, cool. So we have a speed boost too, which is fun. Okay. If you don't have a trigger, what you could do is, if you don't want to do it that way, we're going to go to project settings. we got 2 fire ones here. So I'm just going to duplicate the array element. And then on the top one here, we'll put this back to key or mouse button. That doesn't really matter anyway. And then I just need to make it a different button. So we'll just say, let me see, you're using this. So we'll just do, I don't know, control. I feel like control would be good. CTRL. I think it's control. Might be left control. Had to look that up. Something like that. Let's see. Does that work? Just double checking here. Okay. Oh, no. Ah, crap, I died. Didn't properly get to test it. Oh, that works. Okay. All right. So it will work. I don't like doing it with that, but I got my controller here to test it. Okay. So that'll work. Just you can just test it by doing that. And so we have 2 fire 2. Just like we're just gonna do 2 of everything because that way we have them all set up. All right. That wasn't really necessary to do that part, but I thought it'd be fun. So we can add other, you can add like, oh, you drop bombs or something to a different controller bumper and all that jazz. Okay. So yeah, we did that. We did that. Let me see what else I'm missing here. So I think we did the music. Oh, I was gonna do the health was the next thing, so that everybody has health and that's how they die and stuff, as opposed to the other elements. I guess we could just do health. So let's just make a new script, create C# script, and we'll call it the health controller. Let's call it health controller. Okay, and then we'll open it up. Okay, there we go. And we're gonna like this, take this off. All right, and what we're gonna do is just do a public int health, and we're gonna set initially to a value of 100 because that just makes sense. And that should be good. Okay, all we're gonna do is make one function in here. That's all I need. That we're just gonna have a function that's gonna be a public function that anyone can call, that will allow us to adjust the health. Okay, so basically, when something contacts the enemy, like a bullet, it'll run this public function. So it's gonna be public void, and we're gonna call it update health, and then it's gonna require an int, and we'll just call it health adjustment. So the idea here is that when you call the function, you have to give it an int number. So if we give it a negative number, that will remove health. But then later on, if I want my player, because we're going to use both the enemy and the player, if I want to be able to like gain health back, we can also just give it a positive number, and that way, no matter what, it will, it will always do that. So inside this function, really all we got to do is health, and it's going to be plus equals health adjustment. So basically, whatever number it sends us, let's say it sends us -10, it's just going to take health. Let's say we're at 100 to start with. It's going to do plus equals -10, which means it's going to make it 90, right? But let's say we have a health of 50 and we send a number of 20. It'll be plus equals, and then it'll be 20. So health will end up being 70, right? So pretty simple. That will do our health. The other thing we want to do next is basically just set up what happens if we depending on what happens if we run out of health. Okay, so what we're going to do is if health becomes 0, so let's say if health is less than or equal to 0, we're going to want it to basically kill us, right? So this would be health, not health. Now we want this to be different depending on who this is attached to. So right now I have it attached to the player. That's different than if the player dies is different than if the enemy dies. If the enemy dies, I just want to turn off because it's part of that pool. If the player dies, I also want to turn off, but I want to go ahead and like reset the game. So we need to set it up for both. So because this is going to be on both of them. So we're going to say if the game object dot tag is equal to player. Basically, if the game object this is attached to, if it's player, it's going to do what else. It's going to do what's in here. Else, we're going to have it do this. Now, if we had other things that had health, like maybe buildings and stuff, we might want to do else if, and then we would say, you know, game object dot tag equals enemy, oops, and then me, right? And then we would do after that, then the last one would be else. But we don't really have that. Later on, I can add that if I need to. Really, the only things that have this are the enemy and the player. So not a big deal. So what we're gonna have happen is if basically the player has 0 health, we're gonna call the game manager and we're gonna want to run the death function. So we have these different things, right? So play game, pause game, end game, player death, right? So update lives. So I guess it's gonna be player death is what we're gonna run. I thought it was just death. So I gotta run player death. So I'm just gonna copy this because this is the one that starts up that whole we're gonna die thing. Okay. Currently, this is running whenever the enemy runs into us, which we're gonna take off. But for now, once we have this health working instead. So I'm gonna copy this, go to the health controller, and we're just gonna say game manager dot control V that. Okay, so that's just gonna call that function, and that should work. Now, what I want to do is on the enemy controller here, because right now there's nothing that's calling this function. So it might run, but it's not actually doing anything. Also, actually, let's go ahead and set up the other for the other object. So all we really need to do is do game object dot set active, and we're just going to set it to false. So that basically will just turn it off. So basically, if the player dies, if we run out of health, the player is gonna tell it to run on the game manager the player death function, which will go through and reset and everything. But if this is not the player, so it'll be the enemy, it'll just turn it off. It'll just become inactive, so it'll look like it died. We're gonna add more to this, you know, like animation and particles and sounds and things like that. But for now, this should work fine. Okay, so okay, so right now there's nothing calling this function, right? So I'm just gonna okay, good. I'm just gonna save this real quick, go to here. Oops, not here, go to here and just make sure that there's no errors. All right, so there's errors. Object represents for non-static field game manager dot player death. All right, so let's see. Game manager dot player death dot game man. I think that's the answer. Is that what it wanted? Looks like it is. Okay. I was get confused as to which. Where are you at? Come on. So sometimes it's just the game manager, sometimes it's game man, because if we go here, it's a matter of whether I made this static or not. If this was a static function, then it's just game manager. But because it's a not, it's actually just inside of this game man. But this game man is part of this game manager class. Like it's an instance of it. So I have to do that. Anyway, all right. So that's fine. So that's all running, but nothing's calling this function here. Okay. So we need to call it. And what we're going to do is the places where we like just kill us, we're now instead going to tell it to just remove health. So I'm going to go to the enemy controller. And what we're going to do is, let me see. Okay, so it's not in here. It must be on the bullet. Yeah, so we say, oh, if we hit the enemy, it says to turn it off. That's not what I'm having to do. It's not what I'm going to have it do anymore. Instead, what I'm having to do is actually go through and run take away the health instead. So and then once it runs out of health, we'll do that. So we're just going to say game. Okay, so COL. See, I don't want to. I guess we're gonna have to do it that way. So COL dot oops, not that way. Come on. Game object dot get component. Component I want to get is going to be the health controller. Like this, and then we're going to do dot. Then we want to run that function, the update health function that's inside of this. So we're going to grab this, Control C, Control V, like so. And then we need to send it an amount that we want it to take away of health. So what I'm going to do is we didn't put this in here yet, but so we got bullet, speed. Let's also, I'm just going to copy this. We're gonna be able to, because this way we can have different kinds of strengths of bullets. So we're gonna do a float and we're gonna call it bullet damage. And we'll make the damage initially, let's do 25. Okay. Yeah, so we'll send it 25. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna send this thing the bullet damage, but notice this is a positive number, so I gotta send it the minus of it. Otherwise, it's just gonna send it 25. It's gonna give them health, which is not what we want to do. All right, so that should now grab the component, the health controller, inside of that COL object. Remember, COL is the thing that we hit, but I have to do the game object of it, and then we get the component, the health controller. We're gonna run that function, and we're gonna send it this amount. And I also do the score here. So I actually don't want to do it on here because this is actually just if we hit it, we have to hit it multiple times. So I'm actually gonna take this part here and we're gonna cut it out of here because I don't want to score until we actually kill it. So I'm gonna take that out of there. Let's save that. I'm gonna go to this one, and right here, we're gonna paste it that we update the score on this one instead, so that when we actually kill it is when it's going to do that. So save that. Go back to Unity, pray to the Mayan gods or the Unity gods. Cannot convert float to int. 34. Oh, because it was where are you? Not this one. Where are you? Bullet. This has got to be an int because it's whole numbers. So int. There we go. Save that again. So basically, I sent it a float when we called that update health. Okay, so oh, that's not going to work. Hang on a second. I forgot to actually apply the health to the things here. So the player is going to need it. So I'm going to take the health control and drop it onto the player. So now it's got health 100, and I also need to put it onto the enemy. And we'll just do it this way. Add component. Oh, you can't. We won't do it that way because you can't see it. And where are you? Health. And I cannot see it. There we go. Okay, and we'll put health on there, and good. We'll start off with 100. That's fine. So it should take 4 shots. I'm going to save this actually. I just know if my little asterisk was up there. So let's go like this and see if after 4 hits it dies. Okay. Whoa, boy. Okay. Well, it's hard to tell. So, oh, they all killed me. Okay. So I didn't set up yet the my health. I'm just setting up the enemy's health, but it does seem to be working. It's hard to tell, but these guys are fast. But you can see it's taking more than 1 hit to kill them, where before it was taking, oh boy, time to get out of here. I died. Okay. All right. So that seems to be working fine. Let's just set up so that the player health also works. So let's go here. Okay, so the health controller, we have it set up. It does the player death when we're at whatever. But right now, currently, we have it that when it runs into us. So is that in player input? Where do I have the on collision enter? Okay. So we have it set up on the player input that when they run into us, and if it's the enemy, it calls player death. That's actually not what I want to do. I want to instead have it grab my health and remove it. But unlike the other one here, so you'll notice on the bullet controller, I have it that when we hit the object, we find its health controller and then we take the damage out of it. I have to do it this way because we're constantly spawning new enemies all the time, and the bullets are going to hit different enemies. With my player, I can go ahead and put on there because it's always going to be the same player. So I'm gonna actually grab it up here. So private, and it's also going to be attached to the same object that's taking away from. So I don't have to like grab it from the object I'm hitting. I'm going to grab it from myself, which is a little bit easier. So it'll be health controller, and we'll just call it health. And what we'll do is on collision enter, instead of this business, it's going to be health dot update health, and then we need to send it an amount. So so here's the thing, I would need to get the amount from the enemy itself. So I'm thinking for now what we're going to do is we're going to send it -100. Actually, it won't really matter because once they're touching us, we're kind of done anyway. So we're going to send it -100. So if they hit us, we'll still die. But eventually what I'd want to do is sample when they hit us, how much I want it to hurt us. But for now, I'm just going to do that. So let's go back here. Okay. Should work the same, because that will just take our health away. So nothing's going to change. It's going to work exactly the same, but we still do have a health setup. So if I go like this and boom. Oh, okay. So can't find an instance of an object. It does have health. Hang on. Oh, I didn't actually put it in there. Whoops. Okay. Sorry about that. Health is going to be equal to get component and health controller. Whoopsies. Okay. Didn't actually attach that in any way. My bad. Let's do this again. Okay. Okay. And I'm just going to kill myself. Yay. It should work exactly the same. Hopefully. There we go. Yep. Okay. A little bit too long of a delay, I would say. But all right. So that's working. All right. Let's see. All right. So that is now working. So I got the health controller, I think, mostly functioning at this point. What else do we need? Okay. Camera controller. We did enemy controller. I don't remember. Click enter. Oh, okay, I did that a little bit differently. That's fine. Yeah, that's all fine. Enemy spawner. Okay. So the enemy spawner could be a little bit more improved, I think. So let's work on that, I guess. So the enemy spawner script. Okay. Yeah. Because then after that, it's gonna be more of the polished stuff of adding audio and what have you, which I don't think will be too big of an idiot or too big of a problem. Okay. All right. So, all right. So currently, just to recap what we currently have, right now, the enemy spawner, you will notice it just literally has 50 enemies it makes, and then it spawns it every half second, and it's spawning in this general area. Problem with this though is that it just doesn't have a lot of. For one, it's only spawning one at a time, and it's spawning it kind of slow, and it's just constantly spawning, and it's spawning at all times. So you might have noticed when we die, it keeps spawning, which is kind of annoying. What I would like it to do is to just spawn. I'd like to spawn for a period of time, and then once it's reached a total number, that it will stop spawning. So you can see it wipes them all out, but you'll notice is see how they're already starting to spawn before I'm even alive. And there's no sense of like, oh, I've completed this level. It's just like it just keeps going, which is okay, but you don't get a sense of achievement. Better if you like go through waves. So what I want to do is I want to set up like a wave system that it'll spawn a certain number for one wave. Once all of those are dead, then it will spawn the next wave. And then maybe as it spawns the waves, we'll just change things about the enemies, like we'll make them faster or make them spawn quicker, things like that. So we're just going to set up a more of like a wave system. So it's going to be pretty similar to what we already have, like how we have this spawn interval. We'll just have a wave interval. So the wave will happen for a certain period of time, and then after that, it will stop and then wait for the next. So that's basically what we're looking to do here. Okay. So let's see. Enemy initialized field, enemy pool count. Okay. So what we're gonna do is after this is kind of a pool thing. I'm gonna move this down here. Doesn't actually matter, but I like to keep alike items together because this is all dealing with the pool part, which makes sense. This is just like extra stuff I need in order to know when to spawn, and then this is dealing with actual spawning. So this is basically the area that I'm gonna add stuff to. So we have spawn interval, spawn area. But we also need to have a, I'm going to add a spawn count. So public int, and we'll call it spawn count, and we'll set that equal to 3. Basically, that's how many, notice this thing, it's how many enemies it's going to spawn at a time. So it'll spawn 3 enemies at a time. So instead of doing that 0.5 or just every 0.5, I'm going to spawn 3 enemies every, 2 seconds, because that looks a little bit better. The other thing I want to do is I also want to add a wave interval. So public float wave wave interval, and we'll set that to initial value of 5. Just means the wave will last 5 seconds. And I think that's, in order to keep, just like we have the spawn interval, I'm going to need the same thing where I have this private float, and we'll call this wave, last wave time. And we'll set that equal to 0. Okay. And then, 0. And then we're going to also add this here. So private bool can spawn, and we'll set that equal to true initially. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have an on-off switch, so that when we do die, we're going to make this can spawn, we're going to make it false. That way we're not spawning while we're doing the thing. So it's just another way of controlling it so that it's not spawning things while we're dead. So that's what this part's here. That's what this part here is for. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can get this to go. All right, so currently we have this this thing here. So it's time, the last spawn time, and then spawn interval. So that's how often it is spawning. Okay. What I want to do is this. We're also going to set up, and this will be our extra little controller here, is I want to set up that we're going to also do and can spawn. Okay. So we're going to use this can spawn for 2 things. It's going to keep us from spawning when we're dead, and it's also going to be how the wave thing controls it. Okay. Now, currently we have it is that every time it reaches this interval, right? So it says, okay, it's the current time greater than the last spawn time plus our spawn interval, right? So let's say we spawn at 1 second, then it's going to, okay, is our current time greater than 1 second plus when our spawn interval is. So I set it up to 1. So basically it's the current time 2 seconds. And if it is, and we can spawn, that's a new thing we added, which is true currently. So it's going to basically make 1 spawning. But what I need to do, if you recall, is I actually need to do this 3 times. Because if up here, see how I have spawn count 3? So this is only going to do it once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a for loop that basically, when it says you can spawn, I'm going to make a for loop that says run this section now 3 times, or however many times I want it to be, however many times the spawn count is. In this case, currently it's 3. So inside of here, after this, we're going to do a for loop. So we're going to say for int I, that's our increment. We're going to set it to initial value of 0. And then we're going to say, while I is less than the spawn count. Okay. And then every time it runs, it's going to add 1 to I. So I'm going to do this. We're going to delete that. I'm going to grab this whole bit here, tab, and then we're going to go like this. Okay. So now what that's going to do is that's going to look at that and spawn that many at a time. All right. So that should mostly work, I think. I think we're all good. Okay. So let's just test this real quick just to get an idea that it's working. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust this enemy spawner so it's a little bit more obvious that it's working. So right now the spawner interval set to 0.5. I'm going to set this to 2, okay? Because we're spawning 3 at a time now. So this will actually spawn pretty similar numbers. So what I want to do is I'm going to hit play, hit this. Okay. Notice that it made 3 right off the bat. What I want to do though is I want to look at this and just make sure that it does 3 at a time. So see how it's making 3? Then it does 3. Then it does 3. So it's making 3 every time now. I feel like these things are faster than me. Wow, he got me. Okay. All right, so that's working. So basically it's making 3 every time, which is good. That's what we wanted. And that is great. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to set up that wave thing. So that basically it's going to spawn for a certain amount of time and then stop spawning. I don't want it to keep spawning. So we're going to go, oops, not here, here. So after this, that's where this can spawn is going to come into play. So after this if statement, we're going to set up basically the same system, the if thing here, the time, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to turn on and off spawn using that. Okay. So we'll say if time dot time is greater than the last wave time plus the wave interval, then go ahead and do this. One of the things we're going to have to do with this, though, is we have to make sure that we set the last wave time is got to be equal to the current time. So when this does happen, when this becomes a true element, it's gonna immediately turn on the last wave time. You could also do it down here. It's not like, or at the bottom. I just did it at the top here. It just needs to be done. So once that does happen, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say can spawn will also be, we'll set that off. So basically after a certain amount of time, it's gonna turn spawning off, okay? Then what we're going to do is after that certain amount of time, we're going to go ahead and we're basically going to test whether all the objects are on. Okay. So the idea here, where am I? Sorry. The idea here is that this will tell it that we can spawn, that it basically is going to turn it off. So it's going to say keep spawning until this certain amount of time. And then I want you to turn off. And then what we're going to do is I'm also going to set up a thing that tests whether all the enemies are alive, because what I want to have happen is that I'm going to play this, right? And then once I've killed all the enemies, it's going to go ahead and it's going to start the next, once I've killed all the enemies, it's going to start the next spawning wave, okay? So after this, we're going to do is we're going to set up an int, we'll call it active objects, set it equal to 0 initially. And what we're going to do is we're just going to test whether we have it. So we're going to say for each, and it's going to be game object enemy in pool of objects. So our pool of objects is representing all our pool of enemies, okay? All the enemies that we have. We're going to do if enemy dot active self. Then we're going to do active objects plus plus. Okay. So basically, we're going to start off with 0 because we're going to say we're going to have no active objects, right? We're just making an int that's going to count the number of objects that are active. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look inside of our pool of objects at every enemy inside of it. Okay. And we're going to say, hey, if that enemy is on, remember active self is a true or false, then go ahead and add that to my list. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say if active objs is less than or equal to 0. Keep doing that. I know it should be equal 0, but just on the off chance, it's like you run into less errors. We're going to say game manager dot game man, and we're going to update the wave count, which I don't think I made yet. Hang on. Oh, we'll come back to that one. We don't need that yet. So don't do that yet. What we will do is start the next coroutine. Start coroutine, and we're going to do a spawn again function. Okay. So then after this function, it's going to run the spawn again function. So just copy it, Control C. And that will be an I enumerator. Spawn again. Because I want to, oops, not like that. I want it to wait till we do the next spawning. Okay, so we're gonna do is do a wait first. Yield return new wait 4 seconds. Then we'll have a wait 3 seconds. You can choose a different amount of time if you'd like. Okay. And we're gonna say if the spawn interval is greater than or equal to 1. We're gonna head and do spawn interval will be minus equals 0.5f. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're saying if the current interval is more than 1, so if it means it's at least 1 second, you're going to go ahead and subtract half, like 0.5. So let's say we start at 3 seconds. I don't know, we're currently, I think it's 3, right? Where are we at? Spawn wave interval 5. So that means when it runs the next wave, first thing it's going to do after it waits is it's going to so it'll start out 5, it'll subtract 0.5 from it, so that the next time when it spawns, it's going to spawn. Oh, actually, sorry, that's the wave interval. Sorry, we are at 3. It's going to spawn at 2.5. So basically, it'll spawn every 2.5 seconds as opposed to 3 seconds. And then when it does the next wave, where am I? It does the next wave, right? So we kill all of them. It's going to subtract another 2. So that means it's going to be 2 seconds every. It's going to spawn every 2 seconds. And then when it does the next wave, it's going to spawn every 1.5 seconds, and so on and so forth. But I do this greater than 1 because once it becomes less than 1, so let's say 0.5, this number would become 0. Because if I'm at 0.5 and I subtract 0 from it, or I make it, basically it's going to make it all weird. So we're not doing that. Then what we're going to do is we're also going to do the spawn count plus plus, which means that every time now that it spawns, currently it's spawning 3 at a time. It's going to spawn, where are you at? It's going to spawn 4 at a time. So it's just going to make it harder. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're also going to do another for each. And we're going to do game object enemies enemy in pool of objects. So basically all of our enemy objects in the pool, we're going to increase their speed. So we're going to say enemy dot get component, and the component we want to get is going to be the movement motor. Okay. Or yeah, movement motor. And then in the movement motor, I'm going to take the move speed, which is, if you remember, where's the move? I don't have it here, but right here. There's the move speed here. So we're going to take that move speed and we're going to increase it. So where are you? Where was I? Here. We're going to take the move speed and we're going to make it times equals 1.25. So it's going to make it whatever that ends up being. 1.25 times faster. Is that a quarter faster? I don't know. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on spawning again. So we're just going to go ahead and say can spawn will be equal to true. Voila. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. Hope for no errors. No whammy, no whammy. We got errors. Great. Movement motor speed is inaccessible. Oh, that's an easy fix. Yeah, what's it? Okay. I made it private. Move speed. Okay, so we're just going to make this public. There we go. Because I couldn't access it before. So. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. Great. All right, enemy spawner. So now what I gotta do is I got the spawn interval, spawn count. So let's start at 2. Let's make my spawn interval 2 is fine. Wave interval we'll make 5 seconds. And then what we'll do is we'll see if it, does what it needs to. Okay. Actually, let's do it this way. So I can kill them all. Die. Okay. So, all right. So you can kind of see they're moving a little bit faster. Okay. And I killed all them. Okay, so now you can see they're spawning more at a time and they're getting faster each time. It's you know, it's increasing in difficulty. My little pill can't do it. There we go. Let's go like this. I can get I forgot I have that speed boost. Yeah, so you can see, oh boy. I died. I died. Oh, okay. Yay. That should be doing a thing. And let's see. This. All right. Okay. So that I think was most of the spawning fix. So now it's a little bit more of a game. I do need to, I want to have a thing that says like, there's a wave, but I'll handle that in a little bit. Okay, health controller. Let's see what else we need. Actually, you know what? It might be good to put that in there now anyway. So let's go here, and I think it's the game manager, right? That has my text that I'm updating. Let's see. Yeah, that's handling all the text. Okay, so we're gonna use the game manager in order to tell us when we have our waves, because currently it's kind of hard to tell. Like it pauses for a second, but I don't really know if it's actually doing anything. So we're gonna make another piece of text that's gonna go down here, that will help us. Okay, so if you remember, I'm gonna collapse this guy. We have the game canvas, and then we have the pause. I want to put this on the game canvas. So I'm gonna select game canvas. We're going to go to here and we're going to go to UI, and I'm just going to add a text, and we'll just call this come on, wave text. And while I have it, I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to attach it. I'm going to hold Alt and Shift and attach it to the bottom, and we're going to move it up a little bit. Let's say 50, and let's make it 500 by 100. I just want to make it nice and big. Then we're going to go down here and center it, and let's make this 54. All right, and that looks good. Okay, good. So we now have that, and I'm going to go on the game manager here, and we're going to need to add our come back up. Okay, we're gonna need to add our thing that's gonna hold that. So we'll just, where's our text? Okay, so right after these, I'm just gonna do a public text mesh pro GUI, and we'll just call this the wave count text. And what I'm gonna do is right off the bat, we're gonna need to turn that off. So, we'll do it after these. So we're just gonna go ahead and do game man dot because it's attached to this. Yeah, game man wave count text dot game object dot set active, or set that to false. Okay. Basically, I just want to turn it off, because right now, if we go to play the game, let's save this. When you go to play the game, you can see it's right here. Hopefully, I don't get any errors. So we're going to go to our game manager. You can see it has the wave count text. I'm just going to go ahead and drag that on there. Not you, here. And we'll hit play. Hopefully that will go away. So we shouldn't, that new whatever should just disappear, and it does. Okay, so that's just going to turn it off, so that way it's not there, but it's ready to be used. Okay, so from there, we're going to do is go ahead and set up a, okay, this one, no, it's the wrong one. Okay, we're going to set up in our game manager, like we have these update score, update live. So we're going to do one for update wave count. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and it's going to be public, so that we can access it from other places. So it's going to be public void update wave count, like so. And then we're just going to say wave count. Oh, I need a variable. It's going to hold my number of wave counts. So we'll just put it right after here. Private int wave count, and we'll set that equal to 0. Okay, where are you at? Here we go. Wave count, and we're just going to do plus plus. We're just going to add to the wave count every time we beat one. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to actually put our text into it. So we're going to do the game man dot wave count text dot text will be equal to, and then I want to write wave. We'll do a space like that, and then we're going to concatenate, and we're going to do our wave count, the number that we're on, but that is an int, so we have to do toString like so that it will convert it to a string for us. Okay, so it's going to make that text, but that doesn't make it visible yet, so we actually have to also make this visible. So again, game man dot wave count text dot game object dot set active, and we're going to make that true. Okay, but here's the thing, I don't want it to be on forever, so we're going to make another function. So this is gonna it's gonna add to my wave count. So it's gonna add to the number wave count, like, oh, it's at 0, the next wave will be called 1, 2, 3. Then it's gonna write to the text of that UI element I put in here. It's gonna write wave, and then it's gonna give me the number. And then it's gonna turn it on so we can see it. If I need to turn it back off. So we're gonna make a function to turn it back off. So we're just gonna call it start coroutine, and it's gonna be turn off wave text. And I'm going to I don't know why I did it that way. I don't think I need to do that. Okay. And then we'll just go ahead and we will run that here. So it's just going to be enumerator turn off wave text like so. And we're going to tell it to wait, yield, return, new, wait 4 seconds, and we'll have it wait for 3 seconds, and then it will do the thing. We'll just say game man dot wave count text dot game object dot set active, dirty dog, active, and we're gonna turn it back off. Okay, like so. So save that. So basically we give it the text, we turn it on, then we say, hey, wait 3 seconds, and then we turn it back off. So save that. Actually, so that's actually going to do anything because we made this public, but nothing's calling this. So we have to call this function. So I'm going to grab this little bit here, Control C, and then what we want to do is on the enemy spawner, we want to make sure that we run that. So on enemy spawner inside of where are you guys? Right here. So when we do the spawn again, when we're going to go spawn again, we want to put it in here. So we're going to do game manager dot game man dot this, and that should work. Okay, so let's save that because this will actually tell it to run. Otherwise, it doesn't. Okay, let's no whammy. We got whammies. Okay, it looks like it's simple though. So game manager on line 97, and I was expecting a ending thing. Game manager 97. Oh, I'm a big dummy. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so we'll hit play. Try and beat this wave. But notice it doesn't make any more enemies, right? We set up our waves. So there we go. And wave 1. Oh yeah. Ah, okay. That's great. So that tells us our next wave. We almost died there. Get out of here. Wave 2. Fight. And right. And now you get a sense of accomplishment because you can see that we are Come on. Oh, we're moving up. Wave 3. Yay. Look at my little pill go. Okay. Oh boy. A little speed boost thing's kind of handy. Oh boy. I done messed myself up. Oh, there we go. Oh boy. I'm really bad at this game already. Come on. Man, my dead space sucks. Stop it. There we go. I'm so close. Ah, I got it. All right. Wait for it. This game's not easy. Okay. Yay. Okay. So we've now got that part working. Okay. So we've got the waves going. That is something to look at. Gun controller, health control. We did menu. I don't remember where we left off, but I think I have all the menus. Let's save this. Are there other scenes? Let's see. Did I do level 1 start screen? We got a start screen. Yeah, I said save it. There we go. Okay. Okay, so we have that. That's fine. Do I have pause menu? Can't remember if I already set that up or not. Let's check. Oh, sweet. Okay. Does this work with this button? It does. All right, cool. So, all right, works with B as well. All right, that's all good. Okay, so we got the pause menu, movement, music manager, particles. We still got to set up, pickups, and sound. Okay, so all sorts of things here. All right, let's see what we have for my audio. Did I already put those in? I did. Okay, good. I know I already got the music set up, so I guess we'll do. What time is it? I think we'll do is the particles. So I just need to do a couple different particles, and then we'll go from there. So let's make them first, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do from there. So I'm gonna go here, and we'll do where's effects and particle system, and we'll call this enemy, or we'll call it spawn particles. Okay. Let's go to scene, and I'm gonna hit after frame on it so I can see it. All right, those look pretty great. All right, and then it's just gonna be a lot of adjustment here, but this is one of those things where you're gonna have to just, do it yourself. So we're gonna turn looping off. Duration, we'll do like point. We'll do 0.75. Start delay 0. Start lifetime. Let's make that 1. Start speed. Let's hit play real quick. Okay, start speed needs to go a lot faster. Let's do 25. And let's do 0.25. Okay, and lifetime, let's do 0.25. That's better. What is this one? This is spawning. Okay. We also need to do a lot more. So let's do like 50. That's better. And I would also like to change the shape. Instead of a cone, I want to do a circle. Let's see, play. I think that looks. Oh, actually, I was gonna do that for. Let's not do that. Let's do a hemisphere. So play. Okay, and I'm actually gonna take the speed down a little. Let's try 10. And let's do 0.5. That's better. Okay. Okay, so rotation, simulation, scaling, play on awake. I do want rigid body. Okay, we did that. We did the shape. That's the shape of the actual object. Okay, so then what I want to do is this other stuff up here. So let's do color over lifetime. So what we'll do is we'll start with, let's say, white, and I'm gonna take the alpha here and make that transparent. Let's see, will that preview? It does. Okay, good. All right, and just so it looks cooler, I'm gonna, let's get rid of that. click on, so you click on these for the color. The top ones are alpha. If you need to add them, you just click in here and you can add a new level. If you don't want to get rid of it, you just click and pull it off. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to take the color and let's just do that. And I'm going to have it just, I'm going to click in there and just drag this out a little bit. So it's, you know, less, it doesn't go transparent until quite a bit later. We'll pull this. Oh, oh no. Control Z. There we go. Sorry. I want to do this one up here so it stays a little more opaque. Let's go like that. And now pull that one off. Pull you up a little bit like that. There we go. Looks a little better. Okay, let's close that out. So color over lifetime is going to do that. I'm also going to do size over lifetime. And let's click on this and let's see. It's going to go like that. So is that going to get, shucks, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to hit display, hit the wrong one. Get back. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Let's hit play. Oh, it's actually getting bigger. I want to do the opposite this way. Almost did it again. All right, and then actually, where is 3D start size? Here we go. Let's do 5. So I think that looks acceptable. Okay, so let's take shape. No, size over lifetime. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to call that spawn particles. That's good. Let's make another one, effects, and we'll do another one. And we'll call this one the explosion. Okay, so actually, let's call it death particles. So basically, when things blow up, they're going to be this. All right, and once again, not looping. Duration 0.25. Start lifetime. Let's do 0.75. Start speed. Let's do 50. Let's hit play. I'm going to change the shape. This one I want to be a circle. Probably a hemisphere again. So good. And let's do the start size. Let's do 5. And we need to change the, no, let's do 100. I want to do a lot of these very quickly. There we go. And it's alive for too long. So let's do 0.25. That's a whole lot of explosion. Let me see. Let's start speed. Let's do 30. We'll call that good. Then what I want to do is we're going to do color over lifetime again. Click on this guy. And I want to start off with, I guess, red to, let's say, yellow. Actually, let's go, oops, take you out and go here. Let's do start with black. Black to, to red to yellow. And then this one will be gray. This way. And then pull this way. Yeah, and then we're going to take this and make it all the way off. And let's play. Let's make it yellow. Let's see. Yeah, okay, good enough. I don't care. Okay, play again. And I would also, let's do gravity. Let's do 1. Okay, let's do 9. Yeah, that looks a little better. Just kind of want it to like, okay. I guess we'll just call that good enough on that too. And then I forgot what other particles I had. I guess we could do ones for the bullets. The effects, particle systems, we'll just say bullet impact particles. All right, and again, turn looping off. These will be faster, 0.2. start delay, start lifetime 0.2. Let's see. Missions, let's do 25. Okay, that's fine. And let's do speed, let's do 20. All right, let's do 50 and 0.1. Okay, and the shape. I want to do a edge. I don't know what that does. See, that would look good, but then I have to change the let's do a sphere. We'll just do a sphere. That looks fine. And then we're gonna do, let's see. Size of the lifetime. Color, and I'm just gonna have it be white, but I'll have the alpha go off. I'll just pull this up this way. That's fine. Okay, we'll call that good enough. All right, so now I have my various particles here, which are super great. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make those prefabs because they're fabulous. I'm gonna make a new folder actually inside of here. Folder, and we'll call it particles, just because if I add more, it'd be easier just to organize them. Grab all three of these, drop them like it's hot, and then I'm gonna just delete them here. And I can always adjust them, probably will need to, but they're good enough for now. All right. So now what I want to do is make a particle manager. So we're going to do like we did before, create empty, and we'll call it particle manager. And I'm going to zero it all out, 0, 0, 0. And we're going to make another one, and we'll just call it managers. Again, 0, 0, 0. Take those managers I already have so far, stick them in this guy. Good. Grab the particle manager, and we're going to add a new script to it. So just right click, create C# script, and we're just going to call it particle manager. Great. Open her up. Okay. Okay, so this is gonna be a lot like some of the other ones we did, where we're gonna have to spawn our particles for us. So one of the things I want to do is I want to make this static so that we can access it from anywhere. We don't have to go looking for it. So we're gonna do that thing that we normally do. We're making a singleton. So public static particle manager, and we'll call it pman. Okay, and then on awake, void awake, and we'll just say pman equal to this, and that just means that it will instance this class so that we can access it from anywhere. Yay. Okay. The other thing we're going to do is we want to have the particles that we're going to actually spawn, so we'll just make them public game object, and we will have the spawn particles, public game object, the explosion particles, and we will have public game object, and that'll be the bullet particles. Okay, and then after that, what we need is our the stuff that we do in order to send it to that pool to make all. So we're gonna need the size of the pool. So we'll do a public int pool size, just like the other ones. In fact, actually, you can go to pretty much any one of these. I'm just gonna go up the top, and that's the bullet controller enemy spawner right here. You just copy this, Control C, and particle manager, and I'm just gonna paste it here, Control V. Okay, so but instead of enemy pool count, we'll just call this int. We'll just call it pool size, and then the pool create is the pool creator. Okay, so create pool, and then the objects that we're going to make is going to be it's actually, this is an array. We're actually going to use a list instead. So we're going to make this slightly different. So it's going to be list like this instead. So take that out. Because remember, with a list, you can add or remove items. With an array, you have to make it the size, and you can never change the size of it. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now we have access to all of the things that we need, and let's go ahead and create the pool. Okay, so this is gonna be a little bit different. So what I want to do is basically we're gonna, when we made the array, right? We make it's a list of objects. Just a bad word to use because this is called a list, but it's a group. It's a index number of things. Okay. And we have to say, oh, I want to make 12 of them, and then we can put the 12 in there, but we can neither add or remove them. In this case, I have 3 different types of objects I want to stick in there. So it's gonna be very difficult. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's gonna be annoying to try and like add, like, make our spawn particles, but when you make those, also make these and these. And if I do a list, I can make one of them and then just add the next one and add the next one, and I can keep appending to that list of objects. Okay, so that's basically what I want to do here. So what we're gonna do is first, what we have to do in order to make to even create our pool is we're gonna have to connect our thing to it. So which I guess I didn't make a variable. Oh yeah, right here. So pool create. So I need to basically I need to hook that up. So we're going to say that the create pool is going to be equal to get component, and it's going to be pool create like so. Okay, so that way we can access that script and use it. All right. Now what I'm going to do, and this is a little bit different than we did before, because what we did before is when we made our array, we both created the array and put the items in. What I'm going to do this time is actually create the list, but I'm going to create an empty list. So it's going to be a list with nothing in it, and then we're going to add the objects to it, because that's what we can do when we do lists. So what we're going to do is we're going to do pool of objects will be equal to a new list of game objects. Okay, like that. All right, so pool of objects is going to be equal to a new list of objects. And then what we want to do is we just want to go ahead and add those pool objects to there. Now, just so I'm going to save this, probably going to give me an error because we don't have it hooked up yet, but that's going to open it up so you can see. Oh, it's not hooked up to anything either. So I'm just going to open it up so you can tell. But remember, we're going to call this function that's going to create the pool for us, right? What we have to do is we have to give it the object we want to create a pool of, and we have to tell it how many to make of those. So, and then it does it here, right? So it makes the new array based off of the pool size. So it actually makes an empty array with an index number. So it makes an empty list, but it makes it the correct number of items. Then what it does is that for each one of the items in each one of the index positions in that pool, it's going to create the object and then stick it in there. And it's going to add it to it. Okay. And then we send it back the completed list of objects. So that's what we're going to do. We need to call this, but we need to send it both the game object we want, and we want to send the number that we want. So in our case, we're going to do it 3 times because we're going to do it for each one of our particles here. Now, if you want, you can add, you can just keep appending more and more and more. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go down here. Oops, not that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say pool of objects, and we're going to add range. This is just a special thing you can do with lists. And the range that we're going to add is going to be from the pool create dot create. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Create pool dot pool create. No, that's not right. What am I doing here? Pool create, and then what's the name of the function? Oh, it's called create pool. Okay, that was what it's called. Never mind. All right. Create pool. So create pool. And then we want to send it the objects. So we're going to send it the what's the first one? Doesn't really matter, but we'll do spawn particles. And we're going to the size that we want to. So we're just going to say pool size. Okay, and let's save that and make sure there's no errors, because I'm not sure if I wrote that right. Okay, I guess there's no errors. Actually, let's do this too while we're in here. So I have the particle manager. I have no script in there, so I'm just going to go ahead and slap on both of those. So I'm going to go to my particle manager, stick that on there, and we're going to go to the pool crate, put that in there. And then what I want to do is I'm going to put my spawn. I'm going to put the different particles in there too while we're at it. Particle manager. Okay. And so spawn particles, death particles, which I've made explosion, and bullet particles. Okay. Now let's just see if we hit play, if it actually makes anything yet. And yep, it made all my spawn particles, made 10 of them, which is good. So that already worked. All right, good. So now we want to do is basically just copy and paste this and do it for the other ones. So just this, Control C, Control V, Control V. But instead of spawn particles, it's going to be the explosion ones, explosion particles, and it's going to be the bullet particles. Okay, so now that's going to make our pool, and it's just going to add each time to our empty list initially. So basically we'll end up with 30, because right now our pool size is currently 10. Okay. Okay. Now that's fine. We make them, but now what we need to do is have them play. And so this is where it gets a little bit more confusing. Let's save that. What time is it? Okay. So what we need to do is have our particles play. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to basically have a function on here that anyone can call. So basically the idea is that when we are in here, and let's say we have our enemy spawning, right? We have an enemy spawn over here. It needs to be able to go to the particle manager and go, hey, I need to grab one of your particles, and then spawn it there. So the easiest way to do that is we're going to have this, that when it spawns, when it does the spawning part, it's also going to call the particle manager, and we're going to have it call a function on here that will tell it to play the particles for us. So instead of void start, we're going to do we're going to call it play particles. And the particles, we need to make it public so that everybody can access it. And what we need to do is we need to tell it what particles we need to play, right? Because we're going to have a whole list of them. So what kind of particle do you want us to play? So we're going to need a particle name. Particle, sorry, that should be a string. String, particle name. And we're also going to need the position. So because we got to tell it where we want to spawn. So we're going to go ahead and do vector 3. And we'll call it the spawn POS, piece of something. Okay. All right. And that's what we're going to do. All right. Now, we're going to need another function, because basically the way that we have it currently set up is we have a bunch of numbers here, right? And I need to be able to grab those, but I need to grab only, so like if we want to do the spawn particles, I only want to grab the particles from 1 to 10, which is actually 0 to 9. And if we do the, what are these ones? The explosion particles, it's only going to be from 10 to 19. And the bullet should only be from 20 to 29. Okay, so I only wanted to grab those. So what we're going to do is we're going to make another variable that's just a range, we're going to call it. So it's going to be int, and it's going to be a, what do you call it? An array. And we're just going to call it particle range. Particle range, like so. Okay, and we're going to use that number in order to know, in order to know where we can spawn or where we can grab from. All right. So basically what we're going to do is when we call this function from whatever object needs particles, it's going to call this play particles. We're going to tell it what particle we want, and we're also going to tell it what to spawn. And what we're going to do is, in order to figure out which ones those are, we're going to use a switch. So I'm going to do switch, and we're going to say particle name. So we're going to use the name that they send us, which is just a string. And we're going to say case if they send us the name bullet. Okay. We're going to tell it to do something and then break. Then if it's case. If it's explosion, we're going to tell it to do something and then break. And then if it's, oops, not like that. If it's spawn, then we're going to tell it to do something and then break, like so. Okay. So basically, when they send us the name, what we're going to do is we are going to set the particle range of where it can grab within. Okay. So like if it says bullet, we're going to say, oh, the particle range number should be between 0 and 9. If they say explosion, it should be between, 19 and, or I'm sorry, 20 or 10 and 19. And if it's spawn, it should be between 20 and 29. So that's what's going to go before the break. We're going to set up what that spawn range or that particle range should be. Okay. Now we're going to make this dynamic because I could just say, oh, the range is, between this and this. But instead, because I know what the pool size is, that way, if we make the pool size larger, it will change the numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to say particle range will be equal to a new int. So it's an array. So you have to create a new array and then stick it inside of there because that's the way it is. New int. Oops, not like that. And then we give it the basically the information. So it's going to be between 0 and the pool size. Okay. Pool size -1. Because remember, the pool size is actually, so for instance, if we looked at the pool size for just this one, it would be 10, right? But it has to go from 0 to 9. So that's why we're doing -1. Do it like this. Okay. And then we'll do a semicolon. And then we're just going to copy that for the other ones. So Control C. And we'll tab you in. So this will be from pool size, which will in this case be 10, which is where we would want to start, to the pool size times 2 times, oops, space times 2 -1. Because that means it's going to go from 10 to, if we do pool size times 2, that's 20, but it doesn't go to 20. Got to go to 19, so -1. So that's how we end up with those numbers. But this way it's dynamic and it's not hard-coded numbers. It's always better to do dynamic stuff if you can help it, because it'll change the size that it needs to. This will actually be this guy, Control C, Control V. This will be 3, like that. Okay. So yeah. So basically that it'll give us each one of these. Now these have to be the same order as this, because this is how it's making them, doing spawn, then explosion, then bullet. So it's got to be, this is actually wrong. So this has actually got to be spawn. Whoops. And then explosion. And then this has got to be bullet. Whoops. Okay. So now we know what range, when they send us the name, we'll know what ones in the list, like where in the list. So this will be in the first 10 spots, second 10 spots, third 10 spots, right? So from 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. Okay. So that's what that's for. Now, when we have that information, we can then tell it which ones to grab and go from there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do game object G. We'll call it G for now. And we're going to say pool of objects. And we're going to have it grab, oops, pool of objects, this one, pool of objects. And it's going to be particle range. And we're going to have it grab the 0 position. 0 position. So what this means is this particle range, if you recall, so this is an array inside of an array, because this pool of objects is an array. And then we're saying, hey, in the pool of objects, grab this index number. Well, this index number is this 0 position of particle range. So 0 in this case would be either 0, pool size, or pool size times 2, because that's the first one. Right? And then this is 2. So there's actually 2 positions we're sticking in here. So we're taking the first position. So start at the start of it is what we're doing. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to test it. So we're going to say int I is equal to particle range 0, because we're starting at that number. And then we're going to say while active g dot active self. So while those objects, are active, we're going to add to it. And we're going to go ahead and make that the pool of objects in the I position. So basically, we're going to start off with grabbing the first one in that number. So like I said, it would be either 0, 10, or 20. Okay, depending on which one we grab. Then we're going to do is we're going to we're going to start off when our list here, we're going to start off with I as that number. So again, it's going to be the same thing as up here. It's either going to be 0, 10, or 20. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, is the one I have, is it on? Because if it is, go ahead and add I to the number I, and then go ahead and grab that one. Because what I want to do is I want to grab one that's not already active. Okay. The problem is though that this could loop forever. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if I is greater than the particle range, not particle name, particle range, the second position. Okay. So if it's greater than that, go ahead and break. So if you remember, the second position is this. So basically, if we were doing this first one, we're going to start at 0, but our final position is 9. So when it's doing this loop, if it gets to 9, like if I becomes 9, then we're going to say, okay, break the loop, get out of here, because you've already gone through them and they're all active. We don't have any active. So it's sort of a thing to keep us from getting in an infinite loop. Okay. But if all goes well and this eventually breaks, we do find one that's not already on, what we're going to do is we're just going to turn it on. We're going to do g dot set active, and we're going to set active to true. We're going to turn on that particle, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the position. So transform dot position, and we're going to set that equal to the spawn POS, which we got from when we call this function to begin with. We're going to send it a vector3, basically the position of the object itself that's calling it. So we're make it equal to spawn position. And then what we're going to do is I need to actually turn it off once it's on, right? Because otherwise it'll just stay on. It might run through and you won't see it anymore, but technically it's still on. And if you look, they have it's active on awake or something like that, which means that this will execute, the particle will execute as soon as it's on. So it'll execute every time we turn it on. So I need to turn it back off so I can turn it back on again. So what we're going to do is after this, we're going to run a coroutine that says after a certain while, turn it off. So we're going to start coroutine, and it's going to be, we're going to call it stop particles. Oops. And we're going to send it the particle that we just spawned. We didn't really spawn it, but that we just turned on. And then we're going to go ahead and do an enumerator, and we're going to call it stop particles, and we're sending it a game object that we will call the part obj for particle object. And what we want to do is this. So what I want to do is have that particle run, right, and then turn off set active back to false afterwards. But I don't know how long that needs to be, because some of the particles are faster, some are slower. Now I could just be like, oh, after 1 second, because I don't think any of them go longer than a second anyway, but I might have one that does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the duration of the particle and then use that as my my wait time. So we're going to do float part run time will be equal to the part obj, the object that we just spawned, dot get component. Component we're going to get is going to be the particle system. I don't see it there. Particle system. This, and then we want to get the number that's the duration. Okay, and then all we're going to do is we're going to say yield. Yield return new wait per seconds, and it's going to be the part runtime. And then I'm just going to multiply it times 1.25f. And that's just because that way it'll give it a little bit longer. So that way I make sure that there's enough time just so that doesn't get cut off. And then we're just going to turn it off. So then it'll just be part obj particle object dot set active, and we'll set it back to off like so. That's a whole lot of coding. Let's save it. Hope for the best. All right. So if I hit play, it's not going to do anything because nothing's currently calling it. So we need to call it from somewhere, right? So an obvious one to do it from is maybe just let's do the spawning, just so we can see it's working, and then I'll probably call that it for now. And then what we'll do is have it do some other stuff. So I wonder if I could do it on enable. It might be cool to actually do it on the enemy controller itself, because right now I have it on enemy spawners where I had originally put it. Hang on a second. I just want to see something. We'll just do it on there. Okay, so because that way we can control. Let's try putting on the enemy controller first, because I think that would actually be better. So I'm going to go to the enemy controller, and I'm going to put void on enable. So basically when it gets turned on, I'm going to have it run the thing. So it's going to be particle manager dot pman dot play particles, and then we have to send it. So remember, it's particle manager, and then we called it pman. Okay, that's this, and then the function is called play particles. We have to send it the name and the location. So where are we? Enemy controller. Okay, play particle. So name, the name I want to send it is going to be the spawn, and then because I want spawn particles, and then the other thing I'm going to send it is going to be my transform dot position. I'm going to send it the position of the object that I have.
Hello, I'm back.
And let's go over here. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll find out. Okay.
Oh.
All right, so I think it sort of worked, but it didn't send it the correct posicionados, because it keeps spawning in that same spot almost. Interesting. Not that one. Let's try this. I'm gonna grab this. I know this will work. We're gonna copy that, and I might come back to that. Save that, and then we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the spawn enemy spawner script, and then what I'm gonna do is inside after we turn after we set active true right here, we're gonna go ahead and paste it in here, and instead of the transform dot position, it's going to be the LOC, because that's how we get the position here. So save that, go back. Okay, well, that seemed to work. And he killed me. All right. I gotta fix that because right now it. Oh, okay. Well, that seems to work. I wish it was on the enable though. I think that would be a cleaner way of doing it. But anyway, okay. So yeah, we've now got that kind of going. So that's good. And then just wave 2. We should see the next bit. Yay. All right, great. They look awesome. So let's just save this. And then we will, I will try to finish up this part of it on the next one.